Welcome to my Sitecore Diaries, your ultimate guide to digital experience excellence, your go-to channel for all the things in Sitecore and .NET. Today's video from the Sitecore JS's Headless series. Today we are going to see what are the different development workflows in Sitecore JS's development. I am your host Jitendra Ghanekar. I am an Sitecore Technology MVP 2024. I have given all my social media handles on the screen. You can follow me, subscribe me, or if you have any question, you can email me. So what's inside this video? So we are going to see an overview of a developer workflow. Then we will see what is the difference between code first approach and Sitecore first approach. What are the Sitecore recommendations to when to use code first approach and Sitecore first approach. Then we will see connected mode and disconnected mode, and then integrated mode and headless mode. Before moving ahead in this video, let me request you, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell to get a latest update. And if you are liking this video, please click on a like button to upload the video. Let's YouTube know that you are liking the video, and do share this with your friends and colleagues. So let's start today's video. So let's see what is a development workflow. There are two kinds of a development workflow. One is a code first development, and another is a Sitecore first development. So if you talk about the code first development, the developers will work on the React application, okay, in the disconnected mode. Now what is disconnected mode? We are going to see it in further, but for now remember that disconnected mode is like you are not connecting to the Sitecore. So without connecting to the Sitecore JSS app, so you can create the React app using the JSS commands, and JSS app creates a manifest of its content data schema for a set of files. So it basically create complete proxy files to run your application without Sitecore. Once your development is done on this those static files, then you can connect to the Sitecore by using the Sitecore CLI command. Okay, so this approach where you are following this route is called a code first approach, because you are first working on the code, not on the backend. So once you connected to the Sitecore, everything necessary, whatever the necessary automatically gets created in the Sitecore, and your app is expected to render the same way as your disconnected mode is working. So how your disconnected mode, whatever you are tested in disconnected mode, it should work the same way in the Sitecore once you connect it to the Sitecore. So this is called the code first approach. Now there is another developer workflow, that is a Sitecore first. Now what happens in Sitecore first? In Sitecore first, we first work on the Sitecore. Okay, you create all your data templates, contain everything in the all structure in the Sitecore, and then you can work in two ways. One is a connected mode, where you can directly connect to the Sitecore and React app. Okay, and you can do a development with the actual structure coming from the Sitecore. And then another way is that once you connected it, you will generate the proxy files, okay, by you, and then you can work on the disconnected mode. And again you will follow the code first approach, where you again connect it, it will come back to the Sitecore. So code first, where you will work on the code first actual React part, or a UI framework part, or a JavaScript part, whereas in Sitecore first, you first start your development from the Sitecore. So this is the overall the development workflows available in the Sitecore. Let's see the difference between code first and Sitecore first. Code first and the Sitecore first. The code first, how will you define the code first? The code first approach, developers define the application structure, component, templates, and layouts in code. These definitions are then synchronized with the Sitecore instance. So you can create your structure component, the application structure, components, templates, layout, everything in your code, your UI framework. Whereas in the Sitecore first approach, templates, layouts, and components are defined directly within the Sitecore CMS by content editors or developers. The application structure is then pulled into the JSS application. Now, code first defines templates and components in code can be done without a live Sitecore instance. This is a major difference, that code first can be, we can work on with the code first without a live Sitecore instance. Content editors manage content after code sync. Ensure consistency through automated deployment. So if you are using the code first, the automated deployment is must because you want to sync everything properly. Require more setup and familiarity with JSS, obviously. If you talk about Sitecore first, it defines the templates and components in Sitecore. Require Sitecore instance for the template creation. So for Sitecore first, you will need a Sitecore. Content editors can start managing content early. Of course, if you start Sitecore first, then content editors can work on the content early. Potential for inconsistency and manual steps are involved. There are few manual steps for which maybe some errors might occur. Easier initial setup for those familiar with Sitecore. So if you are familiar with Sitecore, it is easy to do. So choosing between the code first and Sitecore first approaches in Sitecore JSS depends on the project requirement, team expertise, and development workflow preference. The code first approach offers greater flexibility, maintainability, control over the code base, while the Sitecore first approach allows for a quicker initial setup and early content entry by the leveraging Sitecore content management tools. So when to use code first, when to use Sitecore first, ideally the case is that whenever you have more resources in the JS, okay, JS framework, and there is no Sitecore is available, then you go for a code first, because then you can utilize your non-Sitecore resources or a JSS resources, okay. But if you have a Sitecore instance available, you have a Sitecore resources available, then it's always preferable to start with Sitecore first approach, because it's quick and it is easy to maintain. Now, what does Sitecore says when to pick what? So when to pick code first? You are in the early prototyping phase of a design where a Sitecore instance might not be available yet. So you must be knowing, for taking a Sitecore CMS license, you might be having a time, or you might it might come later, okay. So you have a time and you are doing just a prototype, then it is better to start with a code first approach. The primary developers on the teams are the JavaScript developers. So your primary skill set is a JavaScript, then you go for a code first. Front-end developers do not have their own Sitecore instance. You have a limitation on the Sitecore instance, so you cannot provide the Sitecore to everyone, then you go for a code first approach. The needs of the app are relatively simple from the content perspective. So content is not a critical thing in this application. The company is hiring an external front-end agency to build a JSS app that will later be integrated to the Sitecore. So your work is given to the third-party tool, the company who is actually working on only on the JSS app. Then you will prefer to have a code-first approach. Then when to have a Sitecore first approach? The project is led by the experienced Sitecore resources developers who prefer to work in Sitecore. So you have a Sitecore team, the strong Sitecore team, then you prefer for a Sitecore first. The project has a complex content or a backend architecture demands. So you have a complex content, then always good to have a Sitecore first approach. Sitecore developers are also implementing the JavaScript application. So same resources are used at the front end as well as the back end. Then you can go for a Sitecore first approach. JSS apps are to be deployed and versioned using the same deployment process. Connected and disconnected mode. Connected mode. So we have talked about the connected and disconnected mode in the developer workflow. So what is actually a connected mode and what is actually a disconnected mode, that we will see. A connected mode involves developing your JSS application with a direct or real-time connection to a Sitecore instance. This mode allows you to utilize Sitecore backend services, content management features, and API during the development. So in content mode, basically you are connected. Your front end is directly connected to the site core. Okay, your JSS application is directly connected to the site core, and you are working on the real-time data or a real-time templates. Okay, this mode also allows you to utilize the Sitecore backend services like personalization or maybe any Sitecore feature which is available in Sitecore. You can utilize that. Now, what is disconnected mode? Disconnected mode allows developer to work on the JSS application independently of a Sitecore instance. Contain and templates are defined in a static JSON file or a code, and the application is developed and tested locally without needing Sitecore. So disconnected mode is basically you are developing your application separately. It is not connected to the site code. There is no relation between site code and your app. Okay, but your app is built in the JSS API, so JSS framework, JSS packages. So you are building the JSS application which is compatible with the Sitecore but not connected to the Sitecore, and that can be done by using the static or a proxy files in your application, and these are done only for a local development. Okay, so it is tested locally without needing any Sitecore. So connected mode, basically the highlights is requires a running Sitecore instance. It has a real-time data from Sitecore, full use of Sitecore content management features, fully integrated, supports in content context editing, and can be slower due to the dependency on Sitecore. Whereas disconnected mode, no Sitecore instance needed during the development. Static JSON file or a code-based data. So data which is used is completely static, limited to the mock data during the development. So you are using the mock data for development of your application. Not available, testing done in local environment, and faster as it is independent of a Sitecore. Now, choosing between connected mode and disconnected mode depends on development workflow, project requirement, and the stages of the project. Where are you, your project is, where is your project? Depending on that also your mode will change. So disconnected mode is generally often used during the initial stages of development. Okay, so disconnected mode is often used during the initial stages of the development to accelerate the front-end work, whereas the connected mode is leveraged for integration testing and final deployment to ensure everything is works seamlessly with a Sitecore backend. So if you want to speed up the development, we will use the disconnected mode for your JS developers. Okay, and at the end, to see whether everything is working fine within the Sitecore and your application, then you can use the connected mode. Integration and headless mode. So integration mode and the headless mode. The integration mode, the Sitecore JSS application is tightly coupled with Sitecore server. This mode allows for a seamless integration between the Sitecore content management system, that is CMS, and the front-end application, enabling the rich content authoring and real-time updates. So it is tightly coupled with Sitecore server. So what do you mean by tightly coupled with Sitecore server? Is that your code is also deployed on the Sitecore server. So your JSS code also deployed at the Sitecore server, so JavaScript code. Okay. In headless mode, the Sitecore JSS application operates independently of the Sitecore server. There is no dependency on Sitecore. Your application can work separately, and the application consumes content through the RESTful API or GraphQL endpoints, making it more decoupled and flexible. So these are the two modes which is generally used for the production. Okay, and the connected mode and disconnected mode are used for the development. If you see the highlights of integration mode, the front-end application communicates directly with the Sitecore server for content delivery and personalization. So rendering is also done on the Sitecore server. Content author can see changes in real time as they edit content with a Sitecore experience editor. Full support for Sitecore personalization analytics features, allowing for a dynamic and personalized content experiences, and the application can leverage the Sitecore built-in content delivery capabilities. So basically in integration mode, all the things which is there available, all the features which is available in Sitecore are used. Okay, and the even your JS application, your React code is also deployed on the Sitecore server. When you talk about the headless mode, the front-end application is separated from the Sitecore server, often hosted independently. So your front-end application is separate, completely hosted separately. Content is fetched via Sitecore Content Delivery API, allowing the flexible content consumption. So content is used as a service, okay, and if you are consuming the service as from the API, easier to scale the front end and back end independently as they are not tightly coupled. So both your application front end and back end are separate applications, so you, depending on your requirement, depending on your resources, you can scale both the things separately. The front end can be built with any JavaScript framework and hosted on the various platforms, ideal for the scenarios where content needs to be delivered across the multiple channels. So it's not just a web focus, but it is needed for other channels also. Then you can go for a headless mode. So this is integration and headless mode. All right, we are done for today. We are going to have the demo of connected mode, disconnected mode, and integration mode in the next video. If you like the video, please click on a like button. Do share this video with your friends and colleagues. And till now, if you are not subscribed to the channel, do consider subscribing to the channel and click on that notification bell to get a latest update. So we will meet in next video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.